Failure. Uncovering the wisdom that success cannot teach. There are too many sections in the book. Here's just a few of them from which I shall select a couple I shall go into in this video. When masters meet, Zentango. That's from education, use me, we win. How to achieve collective ideals. Pathology of success. Oh, the social trap that many of us get caught up in. Some interesting ideas about games theory. Kind of methodology. Confusion is good. Problems associated with copying success. A way of living where you don't know what's going to happen. Again, idealistic goals and achieving them. A kind of hint about doppelganging. Problem of misappreciation of ideas. Oh, may have missed that one. African laughter. Zen of Tango. Argentine tango is very unusual. It is a form of internal dance, the same way there are internal martial arts. Tango is improvised. There is no set sequence of moves. The combinations are endless. Hence, a common form of tango is to execute moves elegantly and to compose sequences that are pleasing for the body to move. This is normally orchestrated by the male lead and the female interprets the move following. Moves can be formalized as like the traditional route of tango lessons to tango teachers. People ask for lessons to be able to perform various moves confidently. There are lots of lessons. Beginners often take a year before they feel confident enough to attend a social, especially men. There are a lot of mistakes to correct. At a deeper level of improvisation, neither male or female know what is about to happen. Certainly not at the level of sequences of moves, not even at the imminent moment. At this level of improvisation, there is no leader or follower distinction. The movement arises from the music and the mutual coordination of bodies, just like the left and right of a single person when dancing freeform. It just happens. And from this emerges new moves, new expressions of feelings, a new form. If they are lucky enough, this lasts for a whole dance. The entire dance is one continuous movement, no interruptions, no glitches. The extent to which a dance as a tango can be felt at the end, as the entity that was one separates into two. This peeling apart, as far as it were, happens at all levels, body, mind, and spirit. This can only occur if both parties share enough in terms of physical posture, contract of engagement, and attention of mind. Regardless of attention, there is no space for error, literally. What might be perceived to be a mistake is taken to be an invitation, an opening into a new expression. For an entire dance to be a continuous movement, mistakes are bound to occur. How are they to deal with them? There can be no space for error. If the movement is broken, they find themselves alone once again, and it is customary for the male to accept the responsibility. Hence, the notion of a lesson becomes obsolete. Every dance is a lesson. There is no such thing as practice. There is only tango. There is no need for support, for there is nothing to achieve. There is only one mistake, and that is to think there is a mistake. All a male needs to have is a woman who is assuring in her forgiveness. He is then free to accept all mistakes as his. Collective ideals. There are certain ideals that are beyond the capacity of the individual to achieve. They appear to be unrealistic relative to the individual, however, entirely possible depending on collective behavior. I saw an ant latched onto a large maggot. The maggot was driving around, making its way across a sandy desert, crisscrossed with random ant walks. It was lucky since other ants did not happen upon it, and it had the opportunity to live for a while longer. Then another ant happened to bump into the ant that was attached to the maggot, and then it scrambled off again. The maggot was really lucky. The random ant walk happened to bump into the maggot. It also started to latch on. Soon there were 5 or 6 ants biting into the maggot, which writhed for only a few seconds more before succumbing to the inevitable. The first ant did what it did. We can put this down to instinct. It acted unilaterally without any hope that it individually could bring the maggot to a stop. The ant colony works on the principle of individual unilateral action that benefits the superorganism, somehow avoiding the standard pitfalls of collaborative enterprise. How do we humans achieve collective ideals? Ideals must be completely realistic, given an assumption of mutual engagement and assistance. With this level of trust, an individual can be happy about committing themselves to any action that they believe is heading towards realizing that ideal. If there are enough individuals, various strategies will emerge as progressive. And even if these are found to be wanting due to conditional modifiers, they can quickly redistribute their intentions to assist a less popular strategy, ensuring the ideal is realized. This outlines the theory behind the confluence model. What does this mean to the individual? They must lose their own sense of personal achievement, lose any chance of personal success, and embrace certain failure relative to that individual. If enough people do this, then the conditions arise for a winning strategy for the collective to emerge. It is important to emphasize this point. This is perhaps the most important point in this booklet. Relative to the individual, the objective is unrealistic. Relative to a collective, the objective is realistic. Thus, the individual needs to have sufficient trust in their fellows in order to perform their unilateral actions. This is how the conditions arise for the realistic attainment of human ideals. This appreciation of ideas. Because of the creative nature of the mind, it is impossible to have exactly the same idea. Each version of an idea is unique to the subjectivity. Even two scientists working together who agree on all things will still have different associations, motivations, and so on respective to an idea. Ideas are as discrete as electromagnetic fields. Their boundaries are mutable. So, when explaining an idea, the chances of getting exactly the same idea is impossible. However, a close enough approximation should suffice. An idea is best explained in a context of related ideas or constituent parts. For example, an idea might have three component elements. We might call this a genus-3 idea. It can only be comprehended once all three elements are described. No more, no less, and so the mind has a greater chance of synthesizing a closer approximation to the original idea. A common fault is to prematurely evaluate an idea, perhaps concluding after only two of the concepts have been described of a genus 3 concept. This misappreciation can often be very interesting and has merit on its own. It might combine well as a genus 2 idea, or it might combine with an additional thought in the mind of the listener and generate an alternative genus 3 idea. Ideas cannot replicate exactly. The norm is flux or mutation, a perfect reproduction, the exception. Universities are hives of misappreciation of ideas. Despite the best efforts of lecturers to reproduce traditional and accepted concepts, the stimulation of new thoughts in students is the genuine product. As memes of the mind, they are fluid, as compared to the aerial qualities of memes that constitute beliefs, and the more solid that is embodied in physical action and technologies. African laughter. Despite the terrible troubles in Africa, mostly as a result from European imposition and later their adoption of politically and economically unsuitable models, there are many lessons to be learned. It is common in tight African communities for unfortunate events suffered by one to be assisted by all. Should a house accidentally burn down, then the community assists by building a new one. That is, the social fabric is strong enough to deal with unforeseen disasters. This strength is, unfortunately, insufficiently exercised in order to cope with larger-scale catastrophes. Northerners have the advantage of a favourable socio-economic status quo, but our social fabric is weak. We have industries that exploit our anxieties, that actively excite our neuroses. We invest in self-protection schemes to attempt to cover every eventuality. So doing, companies make a profit out of us, and our trust of one another has dwindled and is to all intents and purposes dead. We trust institutions, not our neighbours. Can we hear the laughter? Although our material wealth caters for our minimal social needs and extravagances, we pay for it in terms of work and stress, and in existential unease. Their laughter is not harsh. It is a knowing laugh, a welcoming laugh, if only we can hear it. What secrets do they know that come naturally to them, that we may learn from?